I'll turn to our main news this evening, that latest house price survey from Permanent TSB and the ESRI showing a continued decline in house prices here. David Duffy is with us in studio. He's with the ESRI, one of the authors of the report. David, thanks for coming in to talk to us. Your survey shows that house prices are continuing to fall across the country, more steeply in some areas than others, but overall not as sharply as they have been falling.
Yes, the report shows that house prices this quarter are down by about 1.7%, which is the slowest rate of decline in a number of quarters. They're still going down, but the rate of decline isn't as fast. There is some variation. Prices in Dublin fell by about 3.5% compared to outside Dublin. That may well reflect the fact that house prices in Dublin, the rate of increase during the boom was much faster, and they went up to be much higher than those outside Dublin.
So overall, how far are we off those peaks in 2006 then?
This survey is showing that they're about 35%. If you take the country as a whole, they're about 35% off their peak.
Although in some cases it would be more than that. And people know themselves, don't they, that in some cases maybe half or more of the value of a house is...
Absolutely. There's significant variation, but overall you're looking at 35%.
Right. The question, I suppose, in many people's minds, particularly people who are thinking of buying, particularly first-time buyers, is, has this market bottomed out yet? And there really isn't evidence in your survey that we've reached that point. No,
there isn't. I mean, this is as I say, this is the first quarter in a long time we've seen the rate of decline slow. There probably is some more to go, but I think there is an indication anyway that we are close to the market stabilising, although it will remain a very weak market.
But some of the factors that are continuing to drive down house prices are presumably a big overhang. There's a lot of unoccupied, unsold properties in various parts of the country. Unemployment is still weak. People are uncertain about their own financial futures.
Absolutely, and those factors will continue, I think, over the short term. I mean, even if there is a recovery in economic activity, recoveries in employment tend to lag that, so unemployment will remain an issue.
Now, a related issue are people who found themselves in negative equity. This is where the money they owe on their mortgage, their debt, is now greater than the value of their house, and there are more people facing that, and they're facing a bigger lump of negative equity, if you like.
Yes, I mean, I estimate that at the end of this year you're probably looking at in the order of 270,000 borrowers being in negative equity. The average negative equity for those who bought from 2003 to 2009 is about 45,000, but that average masks significant variation. If you're a first-time buyer who bought at close to the peak in 2006, you're probably looking at negative equity of about €90,000. So
that has consequences, obviously, for the individuals, because if they want to sell and move on, it's a big problem for them. But for the economy as a whole, if you've got those numbers of people in negative equity, what are the implications for the housing market and just for general consumer spending and confidence?
Well, I suppose in general, consumer spending would tend to be dampened by negative equity. People feel that because they have negative equity, they don't have access to the equity in the house that they previously had. There have been studies which show that people who are in negative equity save more because they want to compensate for that loss of equity, and so that takes money out of spending. For the housing market, it could well be the case that the extensive negative equity will dampen recovery, because people might want to wait until that negative equity is removed by rising house prices before they start to trade. But also for the wider economy, people may feel locked into their location, so it does have an impact on labour mobility.
All right, and there are moves, as we know, afoot to try and address it. But David Duffy,